Welcome back, it's now time for a recap. We've gone old school and had a bit of a history lesson, broken out the pencils and designed a purpose-built track for all to enjoy. Done some calculating and broken down the sum of the classes. We even have some homework with our very own rebuild to-do list. The bikes might be old and the riders even older, but when buying your kit, safety should be your only concern. Long gone are the days of ankle-high boots with a leather cap for a helmet. Today we sport a more holistic approach to crashing with style. Out with the new and in with the old. Time to go to Honda Kyalami Cayenne and see what technology brings to the party.
From the older bikes, the 2-strokes, we've moved to the 4-stroke engines. It gives a lot better power, and with innovations in modern metals and technology, we're able to make thinner barrels, better cooling, faster engines. They've moved along as far as suspension goes. They've moved from the standard conventional forks to the inverted forks with better internals, which allow for harder riding and more shock absorption. Basically, braking systems, the old technology was drum brakes. They've moved to ventilated discs with hydraulic systems. It allows for sharper, more consistent braking. The older bikes, unfortunately, with their suspension, it's a bit outdated. They tend to bottom out, they cavitate, they don't absorb the shocks as well. The frames, they've moved from the tube frame to the pressed aluminium frames. They're lighter, they can absorb more. Everything works in harmony on the modern day bikes, whereas the older bikes were a lot harder to ride because of their primitive frames.
So, I mean, it's not a modern bike by any means. It doesn't stop. The power delivery is completely different. But I guess, you spend a bit of time working on them, setting up the carburation and what have you. They'll be fantastic, I think for me, the power delivery on the 450 is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's just so responsive. And again, it stops. The suspension is significantly better than this. So all around, a little bit more forgiving than what the older bikes are, certainly.
I think the modern day bikes are more equipped to sit a lot more forward than the older bikes. The older bikes tended to put the power down a lot on the back and it was uncontrollable with the 2-strokes. It's a lot smoother with the 4-strokes. So you're able to have a lot more direction sitting closer on the tank, hence the seat running up the tank.
Both of them are fun. I mean, the whole event is fun, So as long as you're out there riding and competing, it's great.
Okay, so new is always tasty, but who eats who on the track? Time to pack a full field and go for a butcher's picnic. First on the chopping block for the butcher's picnic is the fresh meat of the pre-75 class. The pre-75s are given almost a full lap lead before the pre-80s are let loose. The chase is now on. Eating into the pre-75's lead in every corner and down every stretch of the track. The racing is intense with riders forcing their way forward as they try to be the first to catch the class in front. The pre-75s and the pre-80s are now on the track at the same time. The track is full of hungry riders and bikes wherever you look. And just when you think the track is too full, the pre-85s are let loose, tearing after the rest of the field. Chaos is king as the classes on the track already are fed to the ravenous modern bikes. The feast is on. It's rider versus rider, class versus class. The mix of riders and bikes ensure every corner is a battle, every straight a fight for position. Do you support the class or do you support the rider? The Butcher's Picnic is a smorgasbord of intense action and suspense as no one knows if they are ahead or behind. All they know is to race to the finish, and only then will they find out who is king.
Oh man, this is on my mind all the time, man. Can't wait to go riding. That's what the weekends are about. I think anybody who's ridden bikes or hasn't ridden a bike, this is an ideal opportunity to get busy in the sport.
It's just a bunch of older guys having fun. But if somebody passes you, then it's a race. It's not fun anymore.
Can be competitive at the same token. You know, for beginners, it's the ideal thing because it's a very mixed sort of class. And you speak to any first timer, he's going to be back. He's going to be back next week or at the next event.
First time I've ridden a bike, but by the time I hit the third race, I had great fun.
It's probably the most contagious hobby you'll ever have, but the rewards are humongous.
It's a great bunch of guys, honestly. Everybody helps everybody else. Prize giving is good fun.
Just all around fantastic day. And I think we should have more of these events, to be honest.
Absolutely. I got my kiddies there, I got my wife there for support. All good.
Where we see the club going, hopefully in the next 5 years we can get up to standard that our overseas compatriots have got. Where we can have events with in excess of 200 to 300 riders at a scrambling event.
What a day in the sun. We met good friends, had enthusiastic conversations, and witnessed some mini rivalries. But one overwhelming sense prevails, and that is the sense of belonging to something really special. Vintage motocross is growing fast, and we can see why. Get yourself a bike, get yourself 2 bikes. Just come to the races and experience a feast for your senses. A special thanks must go out to Honda Kyalami Cayenne for showing their commitment and dedication to all forms of off-road racing by sponsoring this event.
We've grown rather quickly to where we are now. Now I think the serious guys are going to get involved, but I think it will become one of the bigger forms of motocross sport in this country.
Looking for an off-road bike, old or new? Come and see us first. Honda Kyalami Cayenne. Live, ride, dream.